by it for a number of reasons. One, because it was one of the greatest propaganda pieces ever put out by HBO, known very well for its left-wing fanaticism. So you have actors in it such as Ed Asner playing Warren Buffett. Ed Asner, I don't have to tell you, is one of the biggest asses in the history of the world. Well-known, fanatic, psychotic leftist. And he plays Warren Buffett as a grandfatherly man who saves the universe. But he does a fabulous job as an actor. Now, here's the whole point. I've told you before is I love movies. It's just that I'm very sensitive to their bias, and I can read through it, and I can still enjoy it while saying, oh, that's a bunch of you-know-what, okay? So I watched the movie, and you've got great actor James Woods, the only conservative that I know of in the film. He plays the only villain in it, Dick Fuld, in the movie. Dick Fuld, you may remember, and we're going to talk more about him if I can remember where to find it, is the man who busted out, or shall we say, permitted to be busted out, one of the great American companies, the Lehman Brothers. Here's a company that was 140-some-odd years old. Dick Fuld let it go down, but he didn't lose a dime. In fact, what was missing from this HBO movie, Too Big to Fail, was virtually everything. I truly believe, and I could never prove it. In fact, let me just put it as a question, okay? I'll put it as a question. Here's the question. Did Hank Paulson pay the director to make this movie? Remember, they made a fortune, these people who busted out America and brought us Barack Obama and the rest of what we're living through. And by the way, today's economic collapse today, the collapse of the Dow Jones by 280 points is today's news story. Now, I was going to do this show anyway, irrespective of even if the stock market went up 280 points. But data is plunging. The market is collapsing. We're obsessed with Representative Anthony Weiner's wiener, where he says it might be his, it might not be his. He doesn't know if it is. He can't be sure if it was his shorts. It's crazy. If it was a Republican, he'd already be in jail. But because he's a lib, okay, they protect him. And that gets us right back to the movie. Cast of the movie, Too Big to Fail. Well-known fanatic leftist. Billy Crudup plays Timothy Geithner. I don't have to tell you who Timothy Geithner is. He's now the Treasury Secretary. He was the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank during the crash. Now they moved him up to be their point man inside the Treasury Department. He's doing exactly what they want him to do once again. And again, the movie is worth watching if you're really interested in what led up to the economic collapse. However, I wouldn't say take it with a grain of salt. I would say take it with a copy of Trickle Up Poverty and read one chapter in that book only, which is the Wall Street, the meltdown on Wall Street. You've got Paul Giamatti playing Ben Bernanke. He literally channeled the bearded one. He channeled the bearded one. And, of course, he pretends to be he portrays Ben Bernanke as a voice of reason and calm. When experts in the field of finance tell us that Ben Bernanke is a fool, an academic fool who doesn't understand the first thing about the real world, and number two, by artificially controlling and keeping interest rates at near zero to this day, he's actually causing a disaster in our economy. It's why the economy is stalled. It's because of Ben Bernanke's insane policies of keeping interest rates at near zero. We understand he's trying to control inflation. He doesn't want an inflationary trend to occur. But what he's doing instead is destroying the economy, according to experts, and we're going to talk about that. And one of the reasons the stock market has gone down today, I believe, is because the head of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, is merely a professor who lives in ivory tower. He may know a lot about the history of the Great Depression, which was his area of expertise in college, but I don't think he knows very much about the man on Main Street. To date, not one major figure from the Wall Street crisis of 2008 has been investigated, arrested, or had their assets seized. Please remember that Bernie Madoff, although a con artist, was not a major player in the disaster. Let me repeat that. The Treasury Secretary, as played by who played him? Henry Paulson, William Hurt. Henry Paulson, we are not accusing him of any crime, but he was the Treasury Secretary, and he violated the law all over the map. He broke every law. He broke many laws. Let's start with that. Let's not make an extravagant statement. The laws that he violated were astonishing. Then you have Geithner himself. The laws that he allegedly violated, not only according to this movie Too Big to Fail, which is a liberal movie, but according to people who really know what went on. Again, these are actionable offenses. Let's go down the list. Well, I mentioned some names you may not know. John Mack, never heard of him, right? Jamie Dimon, vaguely you know one of him. I think Morgan Stanley, played by Bill Pullman. Some of the other characters, Warren Buffett, I said, played by Edward Asner. Barney Frank. Barney is the character Barney Frank is in the hoodie, played by Dan Hedaya. And they do a very good job on Barney, but they don't actually get his voice. But Barney should be in jail, according to many people, because it was Barney with Franny who made the banks give loans to people that couldn't qualify. So many people believe Barney actually should be in prison for the things that he did, irrespective of the fact that there's a very big liberal, big mouth that scares everybody with his big yap. And the fact is he actually broke the law in many, many ways, and Barney should be in prison, according to many people. Not one major figure from their Wall Street crisis has been investigated, arrested. How about the man who was supposed to guard the hen house? George Bush's hand-picked stooge, Christopher Cox, then head of the SEC. His job was to make sure what happened didn't happen. His job was to stop the actions of Wall Street. Instead, he looked the other way, and he was complicit in it. Why was he never investigated? Why is he enjoying life as a lawyer in Southern California today? People are asking these questions, and there's no satisfactory answer other than we're living in a literally worse than a banana republic. Worse than a banana republic, because there is no social justice in this country. Now, I am using a loaded phrase of social justice because I want to turn it back on the leftists who misuse it. We all want real social justice, but I have discovered, and as you will discover by listening to today's show very carefully, the left-wing zillionaires use the thugs in the street, such as those in Acorn, such as those in the other groups that I'm going to mention, specifically to guard and protect their own interests and to attack their competition in business. This you may not know. Real social justice would see the indictment, the investigation, the indictment, and the trial of the individuals who gave us the financial meltdown. That's real social justice. But as I explained in the Nightmare on Wall Street chapter of my book, Trickle Up Poverty, both Democrats and Republicans laid the groundwork for this financial disaster. You see, Bill Clinton signed a law which eliminated the Glass-Steagall Act, which had separated traditional banks from investment institutions. Republican Securities Exchange head Christopher Cox eliminated the uptick rule, which allowed for massive short selling. Clinton is enjoying an easy retirement in Rockland County, New York, around the world in a lecture circuit. Christopher Cox has a cushy job in a law firm in Orange County, where he's still allowed to handle financial matters. In fact, his expertise is, of course, banking and the financial world. Now, why is it that other major figures who are responsible for our economic debacle, such as Herbert and Marion Sandler, do those names ring a bell? You're going to hear a lot more about Herbert and Marion Sandler. We all heard about Bernie Madoff. We all heard about all of those people. We know that a big ticket arrest was made on Wall Street, and a large, heavy-set man of Indian extraction was recently indicted and sent to jail, but he was a minnow in the Sea of Whales. There are those who argue there should be a major investigation of Herbert and Marion Sandler, and yet no one's ever heard of them. Oh, they were once put on Saturday Night Live, and they were ridiculed. But what you don't know about them, you're going to learn about today from an expert on them, Matthew Vadum, who has written a book, and the chapter is called Acorn's Favorite Loan Sharks, from his new book, Subversion, Inc., How Obama's Red Shirts Are Still Terrorizing and Ripping Off American Taxpayers. But I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited. I've been up all day from early in the morning. I can't stop thinking about this. I'm obsessed with the topic because I've never seen such a massive criminal act conducted by so many people, none of whom have been indicted, arrested, or sent to prison. I'll be right back.